Hello and welcome in Map Your Success program level 2. So far, we explored the 4 disciplines of execution. We also discussed how to deal with challenges. And one of the challenges that we discussed are internal challenges. So in this video, we're going to talk about limiting beliefs, about limiting behavioral models, and pretty much everything that's within us and can stop us. Now, I would like to say that all those things like limiting beliefs, thinking algorithms which are not helping behaviors, which are counterproductive, are not who we are. Those are things that we have acquired in our experience. And by the way, the only chance that you don't have limiting beliefs or behaviors which are counterproductive is if you are not born or if you are not human. Pretty much every human has them. And of course, just like brushing our teeth, sometimes we need to kind of brush off those limiting beliefs and behavioral models. But the most important message that I want you to stay with is that this is not who you are. This is not the essence of who you are. And those are things that shouldn't bring your confidence down. So you might be someone who is very negative or very pessimistic, or you might be someone who is very lazy, and we'll talk about the fact that there are no lazy people. Or you might be a procrastinator, or you might be someone who is very easily irritated and shouts at people. And this should not bring you down, it should not bring your confidence down, but at the same time you need to understand that those are behaviors and thinking models that you have picked up and developed throughout your life path, which are not serving you. And it's your responsibility to transform them. Of course, we are not some kind of people who see everyone like angels and devils. We all have what psychologists call shadow, and we don't want you to be perfect or we don't want you to be socially accepted. Absolutely not. We just want you to thrive and to be the best version of you. Let's talk a little bit about what are limiting beliefs, mental models, and limiting behaviors. And some of those are actually what psychologists call trauma. In your workbook, you have a glossary with some examples where you can understand better what those things are. You also have some reflection questionnaires which aim to help you determine if you have some of the most common limiting beliefs or behavioral models that stop people, especially in pursuing their goals. And here I will just try to explain the general concept of what a limiting belief is, what a behavioral model that doesn't work is, and how those are formed. As we're born into this world, we are not born as a white paper. Like, we're not born as this tabula rasa, like this being which is completely new. We carry in our genes and we carry in our being generational trauma and behavioral and thinking models that come from our ancestors. Even things like confidence, like laziness, like willingness to risk is to some extent genetically predetermined. However, there is something super important. Are we going to unpack this gene and how we're going to unpack it? So although we are born with certain genetic information, our environment and our actions shape who we are much more than our genes. Now, scientists debate this a lot, so I'm not going to provide any radical solution to the question, is it genes or is it environment? I'm just going to say that there is enough substantial proof that environments and actions shape who we are to confidently say that although we have with certain genetic predispositions, what we do in our lives can improve who we are and can shape who we are tremendously. We come to this world with some of these predispositions and honestly, they shape us. So even before our birth, we already come with some thinking models, some emotional models, and some behavioral models that we are kind of prone to unpack and experience in our life. Then, from the very first time we come to this planet and we're born until the very last breath that we take, experiences shape who we are. As we're children, we are born with this very loose network of neurons, which is very, very flexible. And actually, in the first 1000 days from the moment a fetus is formed until like 2 years and something, or 3 years of a child, this is the time when our brain is greatly shaped by what we eat, by how we're treated, by how much affection we get, and all of those things. And then as we progress towards our life, the way our family treats us, the communication there, the overall environment, our school also shapes us. And this sounds like we're molded into this individual and there is not much we can do. However, this is not true. We all of us humans, have developed throughout our lifetime some limiting beliefs, some behavioral models which are unproductive. Those can be changed, and the best time to change them is before we hit 25, because this is when our brain is more flexible, and also this is the time when our prefrontal cortex and executive functions are being developed. You can read about all of these terms in your workbook so that this video doesn't become super long. Also, for those of you who are interested in neuroscience and in limiting beliefs and in trauma, I'm going to link some readings for you and some useful resources in which you can explore further those topics. Right now in this video, I just want to give you a very general idea, and then in your workbook and in your program, I want you to reflect on your own experience, because this is not like a psychology class or a biology class. This is a transformational program. I want you to reflect on your own experience. I want you to see blind spots that you have not seen before. I want you to see yourself in a different way so that you can actually reshape who you are, so that you become the best version of you. All right, so we talked a bit about how limiting beliefs and behavior models are formed. Now, I am going to continue with some slides, and in those I will give a bit more of a definition with examples. And after each concept, I will tell you how you can transform some of the most common limiting beliefs, behavior models, which might stop you from achieving your goal. Why this is so linked to achieving your goal? Well, if you don't feel good about any goal, part of this might be limiting beliefs. If you are not very confident in your abilities, part of this might be limiting beliefs. If you feel lazy or you procrastinate, part of this might be behavioral models which are not serving you well. So pretty much most of the obstacles towards your goal are internal, and they are related to those limiting beliefs and behavioral models, but also to what I call an emotional set point. So an emotional set point, it's kind of an emotional state that we tend to go back to. And I'll explain this a bit further and then we move to the slides. So our brain has evolved to save energy, and I've said this a lot. Every time we shift a lot from one emotion to the other, or from one state to the other, this requires energy. So what our brain has created is a set point which it tends to go to. This could be being melancholic, it could be being super exalted, it could even be being very dramatic. So even being dramatic, like super happy one moment and super sad the other moment, if this is what you're used to, this is easy for your brain because it's already known, it's already practiced a lot, and it doesn't require energy. So you have this emotional set point, and I'm going to talk about this a lot. And sometimes if your emotional set point is too dramatic or it's too much in the negative spectrum, this may lead to you not achieving your goal, not wanting to achieve your goal, not wanting to even set a goal. So all of these are the internal obstacles that we all face in achieving our goals. And there is even one more aspect that I will talk about in the slides, which I find super important, and that's the concept of the hero's journey. So each hero goes on a journey from being just a normal person to becoming a hero. It involves meeting some mentors, it involves some training, but it also involves overcoming some internal obstacles, and we'll talk a little bit about this. So we might say that transforming those limiting beliefs, transforming some of those behavioral models, and maybe transforming to some extent our emotional set point. It's a life task that prepares us for a much healthier, happier, and thrilling life. And again, I want to highlight that I don't want to make anyone a perfect creature like a robot. We all must have emotions. We all must have our little vices. We all must and need our shadow. This is not the point. The point is that too many of us have developed thinking models and behavioral models which are not those charming vices, which are not our shadow. They're just things that don't serve us anymore. And that's what we're going to do. So please watch the video with the slides, and then you have certain activities. Some of them are obligatory, some of them are bonus activities in order to start transforming the limiting beliefs. Also, let me circle back to the topic of rituals and protocols. A lot of the rituals and protocols in this level are around overcoming some of the most common limiting beliefs and limiting behavioral models. So you might want to check those again and see if you want to pick up another ritual or another protocol. And there are some reflection questions which I want you to approach with brutal honesty. In overcoming limiting beliefs, one of the hardest challenges is to see them as they are. Because this limiting belief is something that our system, brain and emotion holds dear and they don't want to let go of, we have so many excuses why we have this belief or why we have this behavior. And honestly, those excuses are things that are holding us back sometimes even more than the belief itself. And finally, let me tell you that self-reflection in itself, it's pointless. If you go into too much analysis, you are not a psychologist, or even if you're a graduated psychologist, you need to have very extensive amount of practice in order to start analyzing yourself. So please don't fall into the temptation to overanalyze the reflection questions. They're only meant to show you your blind spots. They're only meant to show you your limiting beliefs as they are. And they're only meant to show you that you are not your limiting beliefs, you are not your behavior, you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotion. You are something much larger than that. So please don't fall into the trap of over-analyzing, because this trap might lead you to more excuses of not transforming yourself, and it will definitely not be beneficial. I cannot wait to start talking about this topic because it's one of the most important and transformational ones in my experience as a coach and primal therapist. And primal therapy, it's dealing with childhood trauma. And I'm super happy that you're here. Thank you. This is really important work. You're becoming the best version of yourself.